Woodward Sports Network. It is Woodward Nights with Booner and Broder. Hey, Pistons, baby! Let's go. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, it is. Yeah, hit that like button if you haven't already. Make sure you guys tell a friend about the show. We're going to keep this thing rolling with the one, the only Brandon Dat, Detroit Kool-Aid. I teased it a little bit. Let's get right into it here. I teased it a little bit. I told you a little bit about it before the show. I've been thinking about this the last few weeks. I've already broke it to Jeff. I texted Jeff about this a couple weeks ago.
Well, hold on. Broder, should I be scared?
I don't know what he's talking about, to be honest.
Bold
you guys had these personal conversations before the show without. Just kidding. I have no idea.
Bold predictions. Ausar Thompson is going to be the number 2 on this Detroit Pistons team in the future. Not Jaden Ivey. I don't know how bold that is, but I think there's a lot of people who are still on Ivy and who are like, I like Ausar. And before I mentioned to you a little bit, if you look at his game, it reminds me of a young Jaylen Brown to where he can defend, he locks up, he can score at all different levels. He might not be able to break a defender down, but as his career gets going, he's gonna get to that. I'm starting to look at it like that. Kool-Aid, and I think, Jaden Ivey is going to be a great player. You might have 3 All-Stars in the future, but I think Ausar, his full package you have, that's just where I'm at with it. That I think his look ahead could potentially be that on this basketball team. Am I wrong? Is that like too bold?
Let's hear about Ausar's package.
I don't think I don't think you're wrong, brother. I don't think you're wrong. Ausar Thompson is somebody that Troy Weaver called the home run pick. And right in Summer League, like the first game, you could tell, all right, he's different. But we were like, all right, first he played against high schoolers, whatever. All right, now he's playing against Summer League guys, whatever. Then he got to the preseason, and he was, leading the Pistons in rebounding? From the 2 and the 3
Does
spot?
everything, Kool-Aid.
Everything. But he said that, too. You know, he said it with ESPN during the Summer League. He said it in his press conferences. Not just that he's versatile on offense, but that he wants to do everything he can on the defensive side to stay on the court. Because he said, that's where the money's made. That's where I eat. Rebounding, steals, blocks. These are the things that I'm going to look forward to out of Ausar Thompson. And then you talked about the breakdown ability. I don't know, man. He snatched a couple ankles. Like, I was actually kind of shocked and surprised at some of the moves he was putting on people to get to the rack off of ISO plays. Yep. Not that he's necessarily the most proficient at it right now, but the fact that the tool set is there should excite a lot of Detroit Pistons fans.
At the NBA level, though, that comes with the game as you get, you start kind of getting older. Even like the great, like it takes time a little bit.
And he's coordinated. His game, he understands the game. He's a playmaker, but he's coordinated. So despite maybe his shooting form wasn't perfect coming out of the draft, it doesn't mean he can't become a good shooter, become a better dribbler. Like he's got all the makeup to take his game to the next level.
When you're trying to win a championship, I looked at this like, even in college, like me, when we were recruiting and doing different things, there's always you always want that star player, the guy who can go score, give you 30, whatever it is. But the number 2 piece you want, in my opinion, on a championship team is a glue guy that does everything, and he does it at not just a good level, he does it at an elite level. Like in the Celtics, like Jaylen Brown, Chris Middleton, like that's how LeBron plays. Like these guys play like that. Luka Doncic does everything. Look at who won MVP. Like Jokic, I'm not like I know I'm saying some crazy names, but I'm talking about that all-around game where you go get 20, 10, and 8. You need that guy in the NBA these days, and that's where my brain goes to Ausar.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're drafting these players in the top 5, you need these guys to be those guys. And that's something that I was talking about last year and the year before. It's like Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, even Jalen Duren, who Troy Weaver had in his top 5. Even though they selected him at 13, he had him in his top 5 of the big board. And now Ausar Thompson, you want these guys to be that. We see all these other squads that were able to depend on their young guys before they became the stars. Like John Morant, you knew. Luka Doncic, you knew. And it's like, are our guys that? I do believe that Cade Cunningham and Ausar Thompson are. You just got to keep Cade, make sure he's healthy this year. And Ausar Thompson, just continue to help him learn the NBA game. Like Troy said, we want to give Ausar as much responsibility as possible, but there are some nuances that he may have to learn. Now, that was after they drafted him. Some of those nuances that I thought he was going to have to learn preseason looked like, and it makes you, look, my word has been temper, because it's different. I don't believe that they're going to win a ton of games this year. but I do believe in the core foundation of this squad. I really do. And so I have to sometimes temper what I believe about the core, as well as temper what it may mean if they also don't win a lot of games this season.
So tell me about the big men. I got to ask. I believe, and let me know if I'm wrong, I think the days of two big men, Bagley and Duren, on the court at the same time, Bagley and Wiseman, are over. Am I right with that? And where do you see that threesome shaking out? I mean, Jalen Duren, he doesn't turn 20 till November 18th. And James Wiseman, he just his rookie extension was not picked up. Is that meaningful, or is that normal? Like, I'm just not as informed on that situation. Is that a big deal, or is that kind of standard? Or is there something to look into?
I think it's more or less giving the Pistons as much flexibility as they can have as they're coming up into what I believe the most pivotal. This is like the most pivotal season, and next off season is going to be, like, honestly the one that they have to absolutely nail. So give yourself as much flexibility as possible. Don't lock yourself in right now if those players haven't earned that. And that's something that I've liked about what Troy Weaver does, honestly. He doesn't care to turn over this roster by 6 players every single year. He's been doing that. Just in the Jeremy Grant for the 25th pick that he then flipped into Jalen Duren, plus a look at like 5 other players. Yep. He did that last year with just 1 pick, and then also still added Jaden Ivey.
Wizardry.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That to me is pretty wild. Then he comes into this season, finds a way to get a couple more first-round picks, or get another first-round pick and select twice in the first round, and then also brought in Joe Harris and Monty Morris. He's been able to go and bring in players that he can kind of plug and play and fit and this, that, and the other. And that, honestly, is what makes me a little bit more optimistic about what he's doing, not locking anything in unless it's sure. Stewart, the Isaiah Stewart's deal, as other players now are starting to get contracts, I forget his name. The center from San Antonio Spurs. He just got
Zach Collins.
No. Was it Zach Collins?
Zach Collins got an extension.
Yeah, 2-year, $35 million.
Yeah,
he's getting $2.5 million more than Stewart a year.
Yeah,
already.
I actually saw that. Yeah, and I saw the stat comparison too.
Yep. So we see things already starting to kind of play itself out. I believe that Stewart is a heart and soul type player. I don't know if he's a long-term starting 4. I believe that that's the one position out of all the starters that Troy can actually make a splash and actually improve this team overall.
Do you know what's good too? And to your point too, Broder, and kind of how you answer that, Kool-Aid, was like with these big guys, you have Duren, Wiseman, and Bagley, right? Those 3 and Stewart. They're not locked up. This next year or two, you're going to find out who they are and who's going to be that guy moving forward. Like, obviously, we know what Duren is, but like a Wiseman, Bagley, like Wiseman hasn't really been proved. That's the reason why the Warriors moved down from him, is they didn't have a spot, and he still has potential. Bagley was the same way. Like, from the Kings, it's like, hey, what is he? You don't know. This is a perfect time for like those guys to kind of revitalize their career in Detroit, and it's like, all right, who's going to be the one that steps up to show us you're going to be able to have a long career and help kind of produce and for the Pistons. Leading from that as well too, a big question I've had, I already asked you earlier today, but this is one I think for the people is
for the people by the people.
We are for the people. Shout out to people. Love
it's
you
like
guys.
those dogs behind you.
I know it's crazy.
I like it.
Yeah, it's different because it's a nighttime.
No. There.
Yeah, it looks like it's like the what's that Lady in the Tramp behind me?
Yeah, we should reenact that one night.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
But Cade Cunningham.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at him going into this year. I want to leave this season confident that he's like a top 15, 20 player in the NBA. And I asked you before the show, how does he walk around? Because in every league, when you have a star and you have a superstar, you want to be able to, like, you have that feeling when they walk into a room, when they're on the court. Do they have that kind of that alpha mentality, like, hey, I am that guy? And do you, like, my basic question is, do you believe he can be that top 20 guy in the NBA after this season, where everyone will respect him and look at him and say, hey, he deserves to be in these conversations with all the, he's an all-star. He deserves that. Do you think that's a year kind of we're going to see out of Cade?
That's the hope. That's the hope. He has already shown the talent. It's just a matter of putting it together for the season and putting it together in meaningful basketball. You know, if the Pistons are competing like they said they want to do at Media Day, then you're going to see Cade start to get those looks again. Remember, just a season ago, to start the season, people were putting him in the top 50. ESPN had him at 35 last year.
Yes.
Right. And then even though they dropped him down into the 70s.
Yeah.
Disrespectful.
I know. But you have ex-NBA players and NBA players who are all saying that's a pretty wild take. Even Richard Jefferson went on ESPN and said, yeah, I mean, he's an ESPN employee. He's a Disney employee. He was like, yeah, that's whack. You trade Cade for Austin Reeves right now, and the Lakers would have done a lot better last season.
Yeah,
Chet Holmgren. Chet's a great player.
Who was it when I texted you that? Oh, I'm sorry, Broder.
No, go ahead.
I was just someone was ahead of him, and it was crazy.
Chet Holmgren.
It was Chet.
Yeah, who hasn't even played
hasn't played the game yet.
It killed me.
Yeah.
That killed me. We talked about that on the show, I think.
Listen, Cade Cunningham, I talk about this often. His rookie season, we know he put up the 17, 5-5 type numbers, 17, 6-5. Second half of that season, he was putting up 23 points a game, 24 points a game. And they went on a 10-14 stretch in games that he played in along with Marvin Bagley and Jeremy Grant. Those are good numbers. And that's kind of what the hope was built around when we came into this next season. But then he got hurt after 12 games. And people said, man, he's not playing right. He started slow. Listen, Cade Cunningham's slow was 26-6. I've been begging for a 25-5 player to be in a Detroit Pistons uniform since Grant Hill, bro.
Feels like
it feels like it's been ages. He did this, and they called that slow. He's notoriously a slow starter to games and to the season because he likes to get other people involved first, which is another trait that Chauncey Billups had. Chauncey Billups talks about it often. He said, I always love to be able to go to Ben Wallace 2, 3, 4 plays in a row. And then he would always go to set the table for his other teammates. Cade Cunningham is very, very similar to that. That's his philosophy. Get my teammates going first. Because what did we see in Cade's rookie year? People forget when he got to play the season, who was one of the better clutch time players in the entire league. Cade Cunningham was.
I remember being at multiple games where he had the ball in his hands.
Yeah, and the stats
second half of the season. And it was like, do you remember with Jeremy Grant, everyone at first, the first half of the season, it was like Jeremy Grant was taking those shots, and then I remember going to games in the second half. It felt like every game I was at, Cade had the ball in his hand.
And that's what I believe they thought they were going to get last year. But you got to think about it. His pick and roll partner in Bagley got hurt in the preseason. That connection was so vital for him during his rookie year. I think to lose that your second year, Jalen Duren wasn't quite ready, and then Stewart jammed his toe up early in the season. I don't think people realize they lost 2 or 3 starters within the first 15 to 20 games of the season, and then they lost 4 of their 5 starters throughout the rest of the regular season. You're not going to get any continuity. They were playing with G Leaguers.
It felt weird.
Yeah, shout out to Eugene Omarui and some of those guys. I liked his hustle, but he's not Cade Cunningham, bro. He's not Isaiah Stewart. So with Cade, I do believe he's going to have one of those seasons. I don't think that the wins are going to get him the respect that he needs. The record's not going to get him the respect. But if he's healthy, you're going to see a guy that's going to go out there and aptly put up 25-5 at least. Before he went out, 3 of the 4 games he played in before he went out, he was averaging, I believe it was 25, 7, and 8.
He was putting numbers up.
Yeah.
He was putting, I remember, he's been putting numbers up. I think if he goes out there and goes 25-5, 25-6, even if the record's not great, I do feel like people do have to start looking at him and put him a little bit more respect, especially last year. 35 in the ESPN rankings going into last season, then he gets hurt and he drops all the way to 70 or whatever it is.